Hello and welcome to Console Cowboys. So let's talk about testing and pre-testing processes. So in the last video, we talked about your kickoff call and you are basically ready to start following up on items. And this is where all the client issues start. So they might say that they were going to give you a walkthrough, say they're going to get you VPN creds, say they're going to get you URLs, and it may never happen. So at this point, you need to be very, very persistent. So let's say that we had a kickoff call and we have 2 weeks until testing. So right after your kickoff call, you send out your letter noting all the items that the client is responsible for, and you go off and work on the items that you're responsible for. But once we get about 1 week from testing, you need to start asking for things because you don't want to get to the day of testing or the Friday before testing and have nothing, because that's where issues start. In order to avoid those issues, we're going to be very, very persistent with the client. So let's say we're starting a test next Monday. Well, this Monday, we're going to want to send out an email again with all the line items from the after kickoff call email of everything they were responsible for. And we're going to ask for the ETA on those and relist all of those items. Hopefully they're going to get right back to us with an ETA and we'll be good to go. However, if we don't get anything back, we are then going to send out another email on Wednesday, this time telling them, hey, we need all of these items. If we don't get these items, then we're not going to be able to test come next Monday, and have a little bit more urgency. We're also going to make sure that in all of these emails, the project manager is on the email, as well as everybody from the original kickoff call, from the higher up people to the people who actually need to get you what you need. Now, if they ignore the email on Wednesday, then on Thursday, we're going to send off another one with a little stronger language, just letting them know that we will be unable to test if it gets, to Monday and we don't have what we need. We don't have access. We don't have the credentials. We don't have the URLs. We don't have the network IP addresses and all the things that we need to start testing. Now, hopefully at this point, there'll be a little more urgency and somebody higher up is going to kick somebody's butt and get what you need. However, this may not be the case. And now it may be Friday. And at this point, you have to have a little bit more, strong language where you're like, okay, testing is starting on the next business day on Monday. If we don't have what we need on Monday morning and we're not able to verify these credentials today to make sure that we have access, we may not be able to start testing, in which case things will be postponed and you likely won't get back on the calendar for a little while. It really depends on, the lead time of testing at this point. Now, hopefully at this point, it's going to create urgency where they're going to get their butt kicked in gear and they're going to get you that information by the end of the day. You can verify everything and you're good to go Monday. However, this doesn't always happen. A lot of times what you're going to see is on Monday morning, you're going to send out that email and you're going to say, hey, I was unable to start testing until further notice. This test is postponed and we need all of those line items to start. And at this point, somebody higher up is going to kick them in gear and they're going to tell you, no problem, we're going to get this to you right away. And you're just going to let them know, okay, if I get this by noon today, we can start and we're not going to really lose too much. And they may very well get everything to you right away, verifies everything works perfectly, and that's going to be the best case last minute scenario. However, what they might do, and what you actually want to avoid, is them giving you partial information. So if they give you, the URL, but they don't give you the credentials, or they give you, just a little bit of the information, but not enough for the full scope, this is where you need to put the brakes on and let them know, thank you for getting me that information. Now I also need this, this, and this in order to get started so that we don't run into issues. And you need to be very firm about this, because I will promise you, if you start a test without everything that you need, you will get screwed in the context of you might have another test starting a week later, but this test, they slow roll you out what you need over days. You don't get everything you need until Wednesday or Thursday. You're not able to fully test. And then the client wants to push this out another week, but you don't actually have time to do it because you're starting another test. So in order to avoid this, we're going to wait for everything, because this puts urgency in their court in order to get things done. And they know that in order for you to even start and stay on the schedule and not postpone it, that they need to get you everything you need prior to start testing. Now, usually this is going to come down to two things. One, they're going to get you everything you need very quickly and you're going to get started. Or two, it's going to get to Wednesday or Thursday and they're going to postpone it, or it's going to get kicked back to scheduling, and scheduling on your company's end is going to schedule it for later, and you're going to continue on with your test next week. You may or may not get this test back, but it got handled properly rather than starting a partially started test that you can't complete. So this is what I would do in this scenario: is I would wait for them to get me everything they need, put the urgency in their court, and then start once you get all the information you need, but be very upfront about how much time was lost, what that impact is to testing and scheduling. So that's the first major issue that's going to start at this point that you need to be worried about. The next issue I would worry about at this point is if they're getting you all the information last minute and you get it and it's not the proper scope. There was a lot of scope creep. They tried to sneak a whole bunch of things in there, or they gave you something that's way less than you were supposed to get. You need to clarify, are you sure you only want me to test this? So at this point, make sure your scope is good. Again, before you start testing, make sure the scope is the proper scope so you don't run into issues later where they're like, oh, well, you were supposed to test 100 IPs, but you only tested 50 because they only gave you 50. Or you tested our QA, but you were supposed to test our staging environment, but they gave you the QA URL. So just make sure everything's in order once they hand you that. And then also, if you were supposed to have a walkthrough, again, when you're sending out those emails to get all the items that you need, ask them who is it that is going to do the walkthrough and what is their contact information so you can reach out to them to get that walkthrough. Or maybe you're going to do the walkthrough a couple days into testing. Once you get a grasp of the flow and you're seeing things and then you want everything clarified, then you're going to get them to do a walkthrough because it might be more beneficial at that point. You can determine that, but make sure you have all the contact information and all the information you need to get all the items that you asked for originally. Now, once everything is good to go and you're testing, you're going to do your thing. You already know how to pen test. You already know your methodologies. You're going to work through all of this. But there's things that you got to think about. So the first thing is, as you're testing, make sure you're starting on reporting. And I don't mean a super formal reporting process. You might not have the reporting template up and be doing everything detailed because it's going to cut into your penetration testing process. But maybe you have your OneNote open, and as you find something, you're going to write a paragraph, toss a screenshot, write a paragraph, toss a screenshot, or even a sentence and toss a screenshot. Because once you're done testing or in the middle of your testing, environments might change and you can't get those screenshots, or they deny you access, or you get blocked and you can't get the information you need, or you have some screenshots but you forget what you did, you forget parts of the process. So you want to document everything as you're testing. So when you get to the reporting process, a lot of it is just copy pasting in what you already have, rewording it and polishing it. So it's kind of like reporting while you're testing without stepping on your actual testing process, because you need to cover your own butt of not being able to get what you did later, or they fixed things and you got to show, okay, here's what I was seeing, here's what I'm seeing now. Looks like there was some code changes. So they were making changes during my testing, and that's one of the other issues that pop up. So they very well may be doing iterative changes to the application or to the environment while you're testing, which then you're seeing other things happen, and need to document that and put that into the report. Like, hey, this changed drastically while I was testing, so I may have missed issues of things I already tested, which now have new code bases. You need to actually document that within your reporting, as well as note vulnerabilities you found that don't exist anymore. Maybe you can put those as mitigated depending on the talking points of how you figured out the reporting process, or maybe you're just reporting them in general because maybe they're there, but there's a slight mitigation that's not allowing you to do it. But you need to document everything as you're going, so you have this for your reporting process, and you have this as talking points for your readout meeting of what you were seeing, because it's not just the vulnerabilities, you're also the process of what you're seeing while you're testing, and your observations and your experiences help them out, right? So that next time maybe they're going to do a code freeze while you're testing, So that way you can get a point in time and make sure you see everything without having your toes stepped on, or you're stepping on their toes for whatever their processes are, which is why these staging environments are important, because the staging environment may not have any changes, whereas the production environment may be some agile thing where they're updating code all the time and things are changing on you. So things to think about while you're actually testing. The next thing is communication, right? So depending on the client, they may not want to hear from you at all, right? So maybe you just send out an email at the end of the day saying you're done testing, you found a couple things, but you don't give any detail. Other clients, maybe this is going into production really soon, and they need to have those findings every day at the end of the day or a couple times during the week so they can get ahead on fixing them, because at the end of the week, over the weekend, they need to have everything squared away so they can put the staging environment stuff and all the fixes implemented into production for a actual production release. So this might be where, without getting too crazy with daily calls, you're going to update them with full findings a few times a week. Or maybe a midpoint in testing, you're going to have a call on Wednesday of the week and just go over all the things you're seeing, all the findings, and find out what they need for you. They might need nothing. Maybe they just wanted an update, right? So these are things to think about. And these are also things you're going to agree upon in the kickoff meeting and stick to, right? If you were only supposed to have a midweek call and then all of a sudden they want daily calls, this might be something where you need to have another discussion because you need to dial things in. Or if they all of a sudden don't want anything, find out what they need, because you want to reach the needs of the client without stepping on, having your toes stepped on where you can't get testing done. So these are all part of while you're testing, things that you need to have squared away. The next issue that's going to pop up is something's going to go down, something's going to break, and regardless if it was you, you're going to get blamed for it. So just be ready that when some network thing goes down because some engineer put, some code into production, he blew it up, you're going to get blamed for it. So just know that as part of the penetration testing process. Just let them know, okay, so what happened? Ask them what happened, what time did it happen? Let them know what you were testing at that point. Okay, during the time that this went down, I was testing authentication and I was fuzzing, for usernames and passwords. Is this something that affected you? If not, it may not have been me. And it allows them to go look into that process a little further. But just knowing you're going to get blamed during that process is something that you have to think about. Also know that some clients are going to be super excited to tell you, hey, we saw your testing process and our IDS caught it. And we just want to let you know that, we see what you're doing, and that's totally cool. Let them be excited about that. Let them verify that, yes, I was testing authentication, sending usernames and passwords. That was definitely me. Let them go have fun with that. But know that all of these things are going to be going on while you're testing, and they may reach out to you, or you may not hear a thing at all. You might just deliver your report, and that's it. So for the most part, this is the testing process. Without getting into testing specifics, you should already know as a penetration tester. These are just the issues that are going to pop up, things that are going to happen, and just getting you acquainted with it. So next up, we're going to start talking about the QA process and the reporting process. So hopefully this video was useful if you haven't tested before, to give you some issues, perspectives, and things you should be doing while you're testing and things you should be thinking about.